What did your friend do that accidentally turned you on? In a hotel room on a school trip with a bunch of my friends, we were of course talking about sex and kinks and shit, and it went a little something like this. Friend: OP, do you like to be choked? Me: I wouldn't know. Friend: throws me back on the bed and chokes me. Me: not gonna lie, bit my lip reading this. I was cracking jokes with a coworker, and when she laughed at something, I said she pushed at my chest in that "oh, stop it, you" kind of way, and whoo boy, I damn near melted right then and there. I came back from freshman year college to visit high school and walked into the auditorium where an incredibly cute girl I was friends with saw me, stopped what she was doing, and literally ran up the aisle and jumped into my arms to hug me. Plot twist: married 26 years and have a son. Holy shit, that's amazing.
Drive his car. I've never been into cars, or particularly into car guys. But I looked over at him since we were talking and we were going pretty fast, and I don't know, my body wasn't ready to look at my friend driving his fast car, I guess.
Ran her nails along the skin on the inside of my forearm. I'm straight, but holy fuck. I mean, I was straight, now I'm not sure. This one girl started tickling me. When I started tickling her back, she started to moan and said she was sensitive there. Awkward drive home. Oh, I know that feeling. Except that in my case, my friend and I were watching a movie down in his parents' basement back in high school. It was a little chilly and we were kind of playfully fighting over the throw blanket. It turned into a bit of a tickle fight, but I was winning because I am not ticklish except for a few extremely sensitive places, whereas he was ticklish everywhere. He told me it wasn't fair that he couldn't tickle me since my only ticklish spots are the sides of my breasts and back of knees. I dared him to try it, thinking he never would as he was a good Christian boy. He absolutely went for it and tickled me unmercifully for about a minute, until it morphed into complete and total desire. He could absolutely tell the second it changed, and we ended up making out. I absolutely would have fucked him then and there, but we never went any farther. We never had a repeat of the makeout session, but there was always a huge amount of sexual tension between us after that, and it really kind of ruined the friendship. Oh Lord. Funnily enough, I was also the good Christian boy. Except a few weeks later, we actually did end up doing it in the library where she worked. Wasn't my idea. She brought me there saying she needed help moving something after hours. Before I knew it, she was on top of me.
I have a voice kink. I specifically like very deep voices and certain accents. Playing D&D with my best friends can be very confusing for my vagina.
If you like deep voices, search Corpse Husband on YouTube. His voice is amazing, dude. Anybody, regardless of gender, can agree that Corpse Dad Husband has one of the best voices ever. I'm a straight guy, but holy hell, that man's voice. Some people think deep, gravelly ones like that are disgusting, but it does it for me. All the Among Us clips of him outplaying people definitely help. She was the popular girl in our class. She said, "I love you" to me as a friend, I think anyway, or I'm just incredibly fucking dense. I didn't like her, but it still made my heart flutter. Nothing hotter than having your friends confirm that they actually do respect you as a person. Shit's good, man.
Found restraints on his bedposts from an encounter with an ex and made fun of him, then asked him how they work. Instead of telling me, he proceeded to put the ankle restraints on me and threw my legs over his neck and showed different ways he could fuck me. I've known this dude since I was a kid and he's family to me, but I instantly wanted to drop my panties and say, fuck our childhood, let's ruin a friendship. So that's how I found my kink in college.
Dude, imagine having that much guts. Rather than being embarrassed and half-assing the explanation, he gives a full dry run of how he'd fuck you. Held my hand for a few seconds. Just happened a few days ago. She was driving and we held hands for a while. I'm still evaluating why that had such an impact on me. Still time. Act on. Talk about it. When he whispers into my ear, even though sometimes it's just something silly and not sexy. Really cute girl I had a crush on sat in my lap on the school bus headed home because there weren't enough seats. This same girl also told me I don't ever ask guys out because that's their job. Holy shit, I was so stupid. Nah, that's on her. That's pretty idiotic if she expected you to go for it instead her just asking you. She should have been TGE1 to make the move. Don't beat yourself up about it. They were teenagers, go easy on them. Guarantee that if girls always made the first move, there'd be so many more relationships than there are now. We were hanging out with a bunch of people and moving from one location to the next. She asked to ride with me in my car since I was solo. When she got in my car, she told me to wait and leave the parking lot last. Then she said, let's ditch everyone and just go somewhere else. Just you and I.
A close friend from uni pulled my ponytail firmly enough to get my attention because I didn't hear him call me. Had to catch my breath after that. We're married now.
A group of us went to a firework display, and during the usual louder and bigger finale fireworks, she jumped, grabbed my arm tight, and didn't let go. Not sure what happened inside me, but yeah, that did it. I had this friend that while having long phone call sessions, she used to talk to me in this seductive-sounding Colombian accent and called me bizcocho, which is cake in Spanish. Never thought being called a dessert would be hot. Or maybe I'm just weird. He jumped up, grabbed a fire escape ladder, pulled himself up and climbed all the way to the top. Just, oh dear, that's how I learned I have a thing for people climbing, pulling themselves up. I offered him a sip of my drink and he made intense eye contact with me as he slowly put the straw in his mouth and took a nice long sip. I found it kind of weird to be turned on so much by him sucking on a straw since I don't have a dick. We've been dating for over 2 years now. Fam, a bunch of my friends have said the same thing. The idea of someone sucking their dick despite a lack of is pretty fucking hot. Get a strap and tell him to get on his knees. He was driving and I was riding shotgun. He had to reverse to parallel park and turned his torso towards me, putting his arm around my seat in order to look back. He did that so confidently and effortlessly that it made me feel a little funny. You mean my good parking skills could actually be useful? We were in some math class in high school and she was tutoring me mid-class. She was leaning over next to me as I was sat down and she had her hand on my back. She was almost whispering into my ear how to figure out this problem. Something about her voice was so soothing and arousing. It was very sensual and I still think about it often. Nothing ever happened with her. We grew apart after school. Something very similar happened at my job recently though, so it brought me back. She dried my motorcycle seat with her sleeve while I was putting my helmet on. A colleague friend took care of my wounded knee during work. We were alone in the canteen and he was very sweet and caring. Guess I'm not used to that. I told her a joke and she smiled so much, looked at the ground, then gave me a "you're so funny" look. I honestly wanted to date her since then. It's been 3 years and I'm still thinking of her. Bro, did she eat you or something? I don't know, there was a cool vibe there. I really liked it. Ruffled my hair. It wasn't that big a deal, but she was one of my close friends, and that just, wow. Benjamin, I thought you were gay. No, you're the one who's gay. His name is missing punctuation, it should be. You're gay, friend.
Multiple things. First, in a party, he danced with me and lifted me in the air. I'm not thin, and not many people tried this with me. Then on a trip we made with friends, his cousin made a tent using sheets and a bunk bed. We went inside to read manga on his phone. He put his arms around me so we both could see the screen. Before anyone asks, he wasn't into me back then, but now we've been together for nearly 4 years. He and I were watching a movie when he gave me a hug. While hugging me, he gently ran his hands up and down my back. He didn't mean anything sexual with it. I, on the other hand, have a very sensitive back and was severely turned on by it. The next day, he made fun of me for being ticklish. I then admitted to the truth about that. Needless to say, he did it again later. We've been dating for over a year now, getting close to 2.
3 years ago, we were once on a school trip and we went to the woods, and I went with my other friends into the deep woods. We were all boys, and we got a little lost. She went out alone to look for me, and when she found me, she just hugged me and whispered in my ear, "God damn it, don't do this again. What the hell would I have told your parents?" And my dumb fucking ass just laughed and shrugged and pretended like my heart didn't explode that day. Well, anyways, 3 years later, I confessed and I'm sleeping right beside her now, and she has no idea I'm writing this. When he flicked between languages whilst talking on the phone with his mother, and then asking me to pass him his wallet. I knew people could switch it on and off like that, but I've never seen the flow quite as effortlessly. I remember a girl classmate friend liking the smell of my deodorant and just grabbing onto my arm and then proceed to walk beside me. What kind of deodorant? Nivea Men Fresh Active Deodorant. Nice job, Nivea Men Fresh Active Deodorant marketing team. A friend of mine I had a crush on sucked on my fingers, as a joke kinda. Then someone told her they do it in porn all the time and she never did it again. We were neighbors. She just kicked out her ex-BF and we lost power due to an ice storm. The power was restored later, but her heat wasn't working right. She called it in, but the maintenance people were busy with calls to fix heat in other units too. We were hanging out at my place watching movies and basking in my heat, though it was still chilly. So we were sharing a blanket on the couch, snuggled up together and drinking whiskey. She passed out on the couch, so I put on an extra blanket on her and went to my room. About 1 hour later, she walks into my room and just falls into bed next to me, gets under the covers, snuggles up to me, then says, "I'm cold," and passes out. I don't know, maybe I felt wanted and that she came to me for comfort. We didn't hook up or anything. The next morning she woke up and she made me breakfast and went back to her apartment to get her heat fixed. It took me a while to realize you weren't just emanating heat like a human radiator.
I've never been ladylike. So I was play fighting with a friend and he pined me down and chalked me a little. I still think about it sometimes.
Girl was really affectionate and hugged everyone. When she got to hugging me, I was really awkward, so I admitted that I had never hugged a girl before, she said. And I quote, "It's fine, I'll be your first time." All my friends were laughing at how that sounded, and high school me was rock hard. Guy here. Senior year of high school. A guy dares me to give a massage to my girl best friend when she sits down. She sits down, I start giving her a shoulder massage, which I've been told I'm very good at, and she lets out a couple of soft moans and completely relaxes. I had never really been attracted to her until then. Then I stopped and she slumped back, tilted her head back so I was looking at her upside down, and she said, "Don't stop." So that was some feelings I felt. Since this got a fair amount of views, nothing ended up coming out of it. She had a boyfriend at the time who was jealous of me for quite some time, according to her. We haven't talked much in recent years, but we're having dinner and catching up either this weekend or next. Depends on if I have to work this weekend or not. I have feelings for her, but I'm not sure those feelings are strong enough, worth ruining our 18-plus year friendship.
He still does this. He takes my shopping bags and puts his hand on my back as we cross streets. I'm short and I have a limp, and he's so kind and caring about it. Edit. My phone has been blowing up today. Wow. Quick FAQ. I asked him out 3 times now, about 2 years apart each time. I was very politely rejected. We are great friends, and I'm happy with that. He's a joy to have in my life. The limp is from a very serious injury I had a few years back. I'm not actually a grandma, but I do love tea and crochet, so make of that what you will. I'm not abnormally short. I'm just regular, can't reach the top shelf, and my feet don't touch the floor from chairs short. His worried jackasses in giant pickups won't see me. He's not wrong, I've had a lot of near misses. Thanks for the kind words. I'm at work, so more replies later, but I'm glad my wonderful friend's kindness made others smile too. He's cool like that.
She was my female best friend at the time. As we went out to watch A Star is Born, she rested her head on my right shoulder. I was on cloud 9. I miss her. She was pulling me like aggressively but playfully. There came this weird comfort I had never felt even from my parents. Whisper in my ear, instant boner. When I was a freshman and taking a 6 a.m. class and going to practice an hour after school, she let me take a nap with her lap as a pillow and played with my hair. Shit was so relaxing. Also, another girl got drunk and nibbled on my ear, and I was like, oh, shit. Gonna add grabbed my arm as we were walking. We were going to a picnic with our classmates. This was in 10th grade. I'm doing second year of college now. And we were in this deluxe gigantic bus. We actually played hide and seek in the bus. Anyways, so while we were playing, I crossed my legs and sat down under one of the seats. And a female friend of mine came to the same spot and asked if she could hide with me. I agreed, and she lied down and placed her head on my lap. But her head was exactly on my penis. It kind of turned me on, but I was trying really hard not to have a hard-on and creep her out. Luckily, my efforts were not in vain. I still keep in touch with her, and I actually mentioned this to her a few months before COVID hit. She admitted that she knew she was on my penis, but Didn't want to move because she thought that would make me feel awkward. We had a good chuckle, and we're still good friends. Wide door, terrific price tan. Ripe, coherent, beneficial wild dime. Probably wasn't accidental, but I was drinking with a friend of mine one night, and she was bitching about her boyfriend at the time. I had always been interested in her, but I also respected it when she got into relationships, even though I really didn't like this guy she was with. She said she was going to go to bed and that I could crash on the couch since I had been drinking. She started stretching in front of me and said that she always stretches before bed. Now, I wouldn't have questioned this, but she was sticking her ass right in my face and she was getting into some pretty suggestive poses on the floor. She went to bed and the next day thanked me for letting her vent. A lot of people told me she was trying to fuck and I should have went for it, but she had been drinking and had a boyfriend. So there were 2 red flags for me to not even try. Good on you for following your heart. She asked me to touch her thigh. She was very proud of them after working out. Though little did she know I really like thighs. We're engaged now. Narrator, she knew, was talking with a coworker and her friend walked behind her and tugged her hair as a joke. Her reaction was a quick lip bite and eyes rolled up. It happened so fast, but I had to walk away for a moment. I was having a drink with an old friend a long time ago. At a point after a brief pause, she just looked at me, smiled and said, "You're very handsome, you know." It got a little quiet, awkward, and we carried on drinking and chatting, and soon it was like nothing had happened. But from that moment on, I never failed to notice the striking blue of her eyes, and my feelings became slightly complicated and conflicted. It didn't last, of course, just bizarre how a compliment can change a perception, especially for us men who receive so few. We barely speak anymore, we're both married, and she has a son. Of course, I love my wife with all I have and all I am. But there's always that memory. I've never forgotten it, and imagine I never will. Was very cavalier about getting changed in front of me. Just taking her bra off under her top to get comfortable is a good one too. Sat beside each other. She lied her head down onto my lap. I went into panic mode and promptly jumped in my seat, making her sit back up. You idiot. You are correct.
Not really a friend, but my first boyfriend when I was still finding out how attraction works. Pulled the collar of his shirt and leaned his head to the other side because he wanted to scratch his neck. IDK? I probably have some fetish for collarbones and necks.
My crush felt my hoodie because it was soft. IDK, it felt weird and turned me on. God, I'm so lonely. Dude, I felt this so hard, man. We're in the same boat. We were sitting on her couch watching Thor Ragnarok, finished our Chinese food. She got a pint of Ben & Jerry's out of her freezer, and she sat sideways half on my lap and took turns taking a bite and feeding me a bite. It was oddly intimate, but she'd made it clear she was convinced if we started to date, we'd end up married, and she wasn't sure she was ready for that. 6 months later, we were dating. 6 months after that, we were married, coming up on our 2-year anniversary. She looks over at you. This is all your fault. A friend of mine used to sit on my lap when we'd run out of chair hanging with other friends, and she'd move her hips to find a comfy spot. But goddamn, it was hard on me to find a way that my little John wouldn't poke her in the butt. Which did happen a couple times, which would be followed by her giving me this smile and shifting just a little more and saying something coy. Another time was when we were hanging out while I had a really loose tooth. She was getting annoyed at me pushing at it with my tongue, so she pushed me to my bed, straddled me, and reached her hat in my mouth to tear my tooth out. From the sounds being made, my groaning, the bed shaking, my dad came up to make sure we were all right, then saw us sweaty, her on top of me, face right up to mine, and thought we were about to do it. After she used that as a distraction enough to yank my tooth out, I had to go downstairs to stop up the bleeding and managed to explain to him what had happened. To which he looked mildly disappointed, and I think his headcanon to this day is that I had sex with her, or at least some light, over-the-clothes action. Okay, but seriously, did nothing happen with her after this? She literally straddled you on a bed and nothing? I tried asking her out multiple times during our teen years, and she genuinely wasn't interested in being anything more than a friend. Then people wonder why I genuinely can't tell if someone is into me. Yeah, that's genuinely confusing behavior, emo. At least you asked her out, though, so that you could be sure. And then there's no regrets. I only have 2 regrets with her. In high school, fuck still now TBH, I didn't know how to handle the feelings, so I acted really weird and honestly kind of creepy toward her. There was one time where I don't think it was just her fucking with me. Thank you so much for watching. Write your questions and stories in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to Threddit for the most incredible stories from threads and Reddit.